Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Karisa Aristawati. I am a nursing student at Health Polytechnic of Surakarta. Here, I will explain to you about urinary system. So, let's get started. What is the urinary system? So, the urinary system is the body's filtering system and produce pee. And the function of urinary system is first to filtering blood, second is to separating toxins, third is to storing and carrying pee out of your body. How does it work and what's the organs that are involved? Next. The organs that are involved in the urinary system, there are four organs. The first one is kidney. The second is urethra. The third is bladder. These muscular balloon-like organs and urethra. This. Next. So how does it work? The urinary system consists of three processes. The first one is the filtration in the kidneys. Second, transport and storage. The third is excretion or urination. First, filtration in the kidney. If you take a closer look, actually the human body has two kidneys and the size is 10 until 12 centimeters. These parts are called the superior pole, and this part are called the lateral border. This part is called the anterior surface, and this below of the kidney is called the inferior pole. This helium is like a gateway to get inside the kidney. There are these two are renal artery and renal vein, and this one is renal pelvis, while this one is urethra. And if you split human kidney, you will see this complicated structure. This one are called the cortex. The cortex is these pink pale colored ones, which is rich in blood vessels. You can see it red and blue. And this is called the medulla, the deep pink. This one are called the renal medulla. And inside the renal medulla, there are renal pyramid, which is inside the renal pyramid. There are these complicated structure are called the nephron. We will talk about it in the next slide. Let's continue. And this one are called the papilla. And renal pelvis, this one is a tube or a way after the urine is produced and being transferred from the kidney to the urethra. This is minor calyx, and this one is mature calyx. This red one are called the renal artery, and this blue are called the renal vein. So inside the renal pyramid, there are this complicated structure called the nephron. So what is the nephron? Nephron. There are two types of nephron with long tubule, this one with long tubule, and with short tubule. These short are called the cortical nephron, while the long one are called the juxtamedullary nephron. The kidney, inside the kidney, there are millions of this stuff, these nephrons, to filtrate or the main structure of the urinary system. So, How does it filtrate? First, blood from systemic circulation, which is rich with waste, will enter into the nephrons through the afferent arteriole. From the afferent arteriole, blood enters to the glomerulus. Glomerulus is a cluster of blood vessels, which is tiny molecules will be absorbed into the glomerular capsule, or we can call it Bowman capsule, while the large proteins and blood capsules are going back to these blood vessels through the afferent arteriole. By the way, afferent arteriole is bigger than this afferent. You can see it. It's like bigger than the afferent arteriole. So after the tiny molecules are being absorbed into the glomerular capsule, and the blood capsule are going back into the blood cells are going back into these blood vessels from the afferent arteriole. Simultaneously, tiny molecules that are absorbed into the glomerular capsule form as the primary urine. Primary urine will travel down into this. This one is called the proximal tubule or proximal convoluted tubule. And at the same time, the blood travels to this. These are called the capillary tubular. Simultaneously, this primary urine will move into the proximal convoluted tubule. There, reabsorption occurs, which will form secondary urine. And the secondary urine will travel down into this loop of Henle. This loop of Henle, reabsorption occurs again, and this loop of Henle are surrounded by blood vessels, which is called the vasa recta. So at the same time, the secondary urine travels into the loop of Henle, while the blood from this afferent arteriole moves to this capillary pertubular, and it moves down to this vasa recta. So the reabsorption occurs again. So you can see it. These tubes are more narrow than this one because this will allow only water and fluids that are going through or pass through this loop of Henle. So after water absorbs into this loop of Henle, the molecules that are still important for our body will be absorbed back into this blood vessel or vasa recta and will move upwards to this, which is called the renal branch, and the renal branch from the renal branch will move into this blood vessel and will be traveled back into the body. Simultaneously, this secondary urine will be moved into the distal convoluted tubule or distal tubule, which will be formed the true urine or tertiary urine. This true urine, will travel down into the urethra, but first it will go through this tube. These are called the collecting duct, and these below are called the Sulfix minor. From the sulfic minor, it will move into the pelvis. You can see this renal pelvis, and after the renal pelvis, it will move into the urethra. So what is urethra? After true urine are produced, it will move or excreted from kidney to the bladder through these tubes, which is called the urethra. Urethra. Each kidney has one of these urethra, and this tube or urethra has 3 layers of muscles. The outside or the outer wall of connective tissue are called the fibrous tissue, and the middle layer are smooth muscle, and inner layer is called the mucosa, which is water resistant. And the movement of the muscles here are peristaltic, so it will push urine that are formed from the kidney down to this bladder. Next. I'm sorry, that process are in the second process, which is transport and store. What is store? The urine that pushed from the kidney will go to these organs are called the bladder. So in the bladder, urine will be storage until the human is decided to take a pee. So this is the ureter. You can see it is a balloon shaped like a muscular organ. This part or the outermost layer are called the peritoneum, and this is a destructural muscle, which is when you take a closer look, you will see three layers of that. The inner layer are called the transitional epithelium, and the second is, or the middle, is called the lamina propria, and the outmost is submucosa. And this you can see as a like a triangle. These are called the opening of urethra. While this is internal sphincter or the muscle of the urethra, it has two muscles. This one is called the internal urethral muscles. This, while these are called the external urethral sphincter. Next. By the way, um, the bladder will the bladder will be store the urine from the kidney and urethra for about like 400 until 600 milliliters for adults. And the muscle in the bladder will be will contract during urination to push urine down. I will explain. So the third is excretion or urination. Urination occurs in the urethra. This tiny, yes, urethra. So when this bladder are filled with urine from the kidney, the nerve system around the bladder will give signal to the brain, and the brain will and the muscle in the bladder will can the muscle in the bladder and the muscle in the urethra will respond to the brain, which is the muscle in the bladder or the tertiary muscle will contract to push the urine inside the bladder downwards towards this urethra, while these sphincter muscles will relax to allow urethra to open. This nerve signals as the bladder fills, nerves in the bladder wall signals the brain that it's time to urinate. When you decide to urinate, the brain signals the sphincter muscles relax and open simultaneously. The muscular wall of the bladder contracts. This contracts and squeeze out urine out of the body through the urethra. So urethra is a tube that transports urine from the bladder to the outside of the body during urination. Urine travels from the bladder through the urethra, a final tube that allows the urine to exit the body. That's all from me. I'm so sorry if there are mistakes that I spoke. I'm so sorry if my explanation is a little complicated. I hope you can understand, and I hope this material can be beneficial for you. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.